This song is written in E sharp super Locrian, but I decided to put it in C flat minor mixolydian. What is going on today, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 4 of Monday Metal Mayhem. Let's get into it. So if you saw last week's episode, I wrote a very short riff. It was a very short episode, but I didn't have a lot of time to work on it. So my challenge to myself was to write an entire song based on that one little riff by the following Monday, which is today. So if you're watching this today, April 21st, it's the day after Easter. And the song is complete. We're gonna go through the mix and all that stuff, but first off, let's listen to the entire song right about now. Okay, so now we've got Logic up on screen, and this is the original riff that I came up with last week. I'm just gonna play a portion of that now. All right, so that's what we came up with. And like I said, my challenge was to write an entire song based upon that riff. Originally, I had a different bass tone for the mix, which was this one here. And I opted for this one instead. I don't know. Like I said last week, I tend to reinvent the wheel when it comes to my bass tones for every single track that I do. It just slows down my whole workflow. But, you know, I just felt like this song needed something a little bit different to cut through. And I like to have a lot of the clankiness of the bass tone in my mixes. That's just something I prefer. Anyways, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about the guitar stuff first. So, rhythm guitars here, and I'm using all Neural DSP amp sims. I use several different ones throughout the track. So I'll just kind of click on those as we play through the mix a little bit. But here is the guitars. All right, so I double tracked everything. There's no quad tracks on this song. And I use the same tone for left and right. So that is the my heavy rhythm tone. It's not very heavy, but it kind of gets the job done. And then we go into like a mid gain tone, kind of a lower gain here up ahead. Let's check that out now. right, so that tone was, like I said, lower gain tone. Yeah, I didn't use any time-based effects for that. I did, however, throw a little bit of the room mic into that just to give it a little more air to the sound of it. So it's like, it sounds like you're actually standing in the room with the cab. So that's kind of cool there, just for a change of pace, right? You just want to hear something different once in a while. And usually when I write songs like this, I tend to stick to just two different tones, basically a heavier gain and a lower gain. But here I did a few extra things. This down here, I don't know, I was calling it choppy guitars. This is something else altogether. So let's check that out now. All right, so this one is very similar to my heavy rhythm tone. However, I think I kind of lowered the gain on this a little bit, lowered the drive and some of that stuff. And yeah, no chorus on this one, so it's not as full sounding. I try not to use too much chorus in my rhythm guitars and stuff like that, but just once in a while, you just want a little bit extra to kind of fill it out a little bit. That's kind of what I do. So that's the guitars, and I did have this one little squealy note here in the middle. It's nothing too interesting, but let's hear it on its own. Here we are. That's it, just a little transition until we get into that clean tone. And the clean part is really kind of my favorite part. It's kind of the showpiece of the song for me, because I love cleans. I know we're doing metal here, but I like the variation from the heavy stuff to the really crispy clean to the low gain stuff. I like to just mix it all up. It just keeps it interesting for your ear, right? There's always something new happening. And I even do this little trancey pad underneath, something I pulled off a Slice, which is this right here. I love EDM, guys. It's really my thing, and it has been for decades, honestly. Listen to a lot of techno, trance, house, all that stuff. So for me, that just kind of, that's my wheelhouse. It just sounds good. And underneath this clean tone, it just kind of filled it out. So here's what the clean sounded like at first, before I added that pad to it. Which is nice, right? I mean, it's got a groove. It's got that kind of rolling sound to it, but then it just fills out nicely with this pad underneath. Right? That just sounds like chef's kiss. And then after that, I think I started to add in some of this low gain chuggy stuff. And I had two variations of it. So you can see up on screen here, there's some stuff at the end of the project, which I didn't use. It's not part of the song, but I'm just keeping it because I'm not sure if I wanted to kind of revert to that instead. And I'll show you what I mean right now. So let me mute the drums and the bass. And yeah, okay, let's check it out. So there's two iterations of this clean section where the chugs come in. This is the first one I came up with, and it's the one I ultimately kept. Let's check it out. Okay, and then the other version, which I ultimately did not use, has all the same elements. I just obviously put the choppy guitars in first, and then the other one. So the other version. So, you know, either way works, but for some reason I just kind of ended up with this one. And then I went for some clean bass during the clean section because I just felt like you didn't need the heavy clanky stuff going on there. So we just have a little bit of clean bass right here, which is this. All right, kind of boring on its own, but if we listen to it in context, all right, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm really not that good at programming MIDI drums, not good at writing drum parts, unfortunately. I'm trying to get better at it. So originally, I was just going to leave this whole clean section with no drums whatsoever. And it sounds cool, but it doesn't really sound complete. So here you go without the drums. But I managed to find a nice groove, and I tweaked it a little bit, but this just fills it out, just feels right. It's kind of a slowed down, chill groove right here. I just think this part is so cool, man. All right, and then the final section we kind of transition into, and I also like to speed up. I often do this. I'll speed up either, the final chorus or the climactic section of the song. And I sped it up from 216. We went up to 224. So I'm up, 8 BPMs. It's not huge, but I had to find a good way to transition it. I don't know if I really found something that is my favorite option, but it kind of works. So here's the transitionary part right here. Okay, and that lead was kind of a one-take thing. I didn't quantize it, so it sounds a little rough. But sometimes I will leave my my best take or my first take on something because I just want it to sound more human. This doesn't have to sound locked to the grid, robotic, and I didn't really want that feel. I kind of like to leave it a little bit loose. And, if I was going to actually release this song, I would re-record this section, but I still wouldn't quantize it. That's just kind of my thing, my take on how I like to leave my leads. But here are the leads. Here's the lead section soloed out, just you can kind of hear what's going on there. And I used, apparently, Gojira for this section. And let's check out... No, I didn't. I forgot what I used. Okay, I used one pedal from Gojira, and then we're running into EQ and then to Plenty X. Okay, so this is my tone essentially, and I struggled to decide whether or not to use this drive in Plenty. You don't hear much difference, so I guess I left it off. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking. Here's the lead section soloed out. It's very simple, and it kind of reiterates some of the phrasing that I used in the rhythm section toward the beginning of the song, and that's something I like to do too, kind of repeat little sections of ear candy in a different context to kind of bring you back into the song, so it kind of just doesn't sound like one riff after another, which is kind of how I tend to write. So for my technique, in order to break away from the whole, here's a riff, then here's a riff, then here's a riff, at least reiterate certain pieces or certain notes or certain passages or just little phrasing to kind of bring it back to you like, okay, I heard this before, in a different form. So that's kind of what I did there. And then finally, I tacked on some of the clean section, the clean guitars back on to the end of the song, which we'll play that right now. All right, probably not the most interesting part of the video, but we're going to talk about it anyways because I'm sure there's some people out there that want to know, how other people are doing their mixing and stuff like that. So I'm just going to show you really quickly kind of what I did. So as far as the drums goes, I'm always using this compressor, distressor. It works great. You're going to find a preset that works well for you in this. A couple of little tweaks, kind of gain match it so it works out for you. And I don't do much else. I send it to a bus where I do some steeper compression. And so let's check that out. All right, and then I'm sending a small portion of that to my parallel compression bus, which is here, where I've got some heavier moves here. I have this up to 8 to 3. I could probably, pin that and it wouldn't even make a difference. But that just sounded good for me. So with the parallel compression bus, usually what you want to do is, just slam it, brick wall, and then just kind of feed into the mix how much of that you want into the final stereo signal. Do not take anything I say with drums as gospel because I'm just doing the best I can from what I've seen tutorials online. I'm really not, a pro at it, but I'm working at it. So the drums alone sound like this. And I went with GGD this time, right? Yes, I did. P5 kit, sounds great. Everybody's using it. See, that's my other issue too, is that everybody's using the same plugins and a lot of the same techniques, and so their songs are gonna sound all the same. And if that's what you want, no problem, that's cool. But I like to do something a little bit different, something that's a little bit unique, whether it's my songwriting, my arranging, my mixing techniques. I want it to sound like me, so that when you hear these songs, when you watch my videos, you're like, okay, that sounds like Jay. Sticking to it, guys. Hot take, I'm not gonna do all the same moves as everybody else. Nolly's amazing, Misha's amazing, Rabia's amazing. I take bits and pieces of kind of all of the stuff that they do, kind of, influences my final result, but it's still gonna be me in the end. So that's the kicks, or rather that's the drums right there, P5. The bass bus, similar, I'm doing, compression, I'm doing sidechain compression with the kick drum, so it only hits when the kick drum hits. Let's add that in now. So obviously I want a heavy drum that's gonna hit hard, but still not spike too much on the transients. We're doing about 5 dBs of gain reduction, and still I don't want it to hold on too long either. So for me, I'm using a very short attack time. Just hit the transient, then release. Just get out of the way so we can still hear the bass. So we're doing that there. I'm also doing a little bit of more compression. When in doubt, squash it out. That's kind of my theory when it comes to bass and drums. If I'm not sure if it sounds good or not, or if it's gonna work well, just add another layer of compression and you're all set. So the heavy bass compression here is, let's see, what do we got here for heavy bass? So Parallax, I'm just using one of their presets. I altered it a little bit to suit. Then we're going into my EQ, cut a little bit here and there, a little bit of sizzle and stuff. Finally, we're going into the compressor. Now this compressor is also side chained apparently, right? I'm side chaining twice, apparently. And then TDR Nova, I love this EQ. I have the free version. It's just as good as the pay-for version. This thing works really well because it's a dynamic EQ, dynamic compressor. So it's just cutting on the transients a little bit. And here we can hear the differences right now. And bypassed. And I love any plugin that has the delta so you can hear what's being removed, which is this right here. If you can even hear that, I can hear it here a little bit in the room. It's just a little bit, right? It's just a touch because the bass builds up too much. So you can't really let it sit too long. So you either got to kill the transient or kill the sustain or kind of both, one way or another. That's my kind of take on compression. And then as far as my mix bus goes, we'll jump to that now. Let's see here if I can get a track. All right, let's jump to the mix bus now. So I used to use all these different plugins right here, and now I'm just using basically Ozone 11 because don't share. Yeah, I managed to get really good sounding mixes with Ozone very simply. I start off with, letting it listen to your track, and then it comes up with kind of a preset that works for your inputs. And then of course I'll tweak every single parameter that I see fit that needs kind of tweaking. So let's just play a little sample one more time so we can see what Ozone is doing. Let's do it. It just makes everything hit harder. It cleans it up. It sounds muddy without it. It just, it's kind of a lifesaver for me. It's a very quick way to kind of I should say this. It's a very quick technique to get a decent sounding mix. You can still do all the plugins on your own separately and get the same result or better. It's just going to take you a lot of time. I also like to add in this limiter, this free limiter here, because it also adds a little bit of warmth and punch. And let's see what it sounds like with and without that. So let's do without first. And with. I don't know, I think this sounds like, I'd give this an 8.5, 9 out of 10 as far as the mix goes. But that's pretty much my mixing technique is slap some Ozone 11 on there and you're good to go. So when I first open up Ozone, the plugin itself, I'll check it out. I might jump to a preset, but more often than not, I'm just going here, play the loudest section of your song and kind of, let it relearn how your tracks are going. What the hell am I talking about? That's pretty much it for the mix, guys. So let me know if you prefer more in-depth mixing talk and all that stuff, kind of walking through everything, or you just want to kind of hear the song and maybe a quick run through on the mix. I want to hear from you what your preferences are and kind of tailor it to suit. If we get more people that want to hear like the in-depth stuff and we spend an hour talking about every single plugin, we can do that as well. But I also don't want to waste your time, right? We just want to get to the nuts and bolts of the song and the basics of the mix, and that's kind of it. Let me know, guys. That's pretty much it for the mix, and that's basically the whole song. It's 2 minutes and change. It's not very long, but I think I managed to get a pretty good song out of that original riff. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the song overall. I really like to hear from you guys, and I'm always open to constructive criticism. So if there's ways that you think I could enhance the song somehow, something that maybe I missed or could just add into it, I'm sure there's things I could add to it. So I'd love to hear from you guys what your thoughts are. If there's something in the song that kind of inspired you, that kind of you thought, wow, that sounds cool, let me know about that too. I really do appreciate it, guys. This is Monday Metal Mayhem. I'm bringing this to you guys every single week. So check out the previous episodes if you want to, and stay tuned. Hit the notification bell so you will know when I drop a new video, which is every Monday. That is on top of my other gear and guitar reviews that I do every so often, usually one a week on those as well. So stay tuned, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot for all the new subscribers out there. You guys rock. Keep it going. You keep me motivated. That's pretty much it for today, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, I'm out of here. See ya!